Okay, so the back piece of this is going to be a little bit more complicated. Let me show that master model again. You see, we have this port on the inside, as you remember, that kind of horn-shaped port in there, and we have this rear nose cone, and those things really need to be split and meet up at some point. We can't really have them be one continuous piece that goes all the way around. For manufacturing and other reasons. But I think we should be able to at least minimize the visual impact of that by having this nose cone go all the way in to the inflection point down here in the middle and then cut it there. The problem is finding that inflection point. We're going to need to get that. So let's open up our master model in its own window for a sec here. And then in this original sketch that we used to create that shape, what we need to do is find the point where this finally inflects so that we can use that to chop this thing in two. So let's go ahead and draw a line straight across here. And in fact, let's make that a center line, nice construction line. I'm going to grab a point and put it at the midpoint of that line. Then I'm going to right-click on my spline and lock that down. Let's make that fixed so we can't accidentally move it, right? We might want to be able to change it later, but for now, let's just lock it down so we don't make any mistakes here. I'll click this center point we just created, Control-click on that spline, make those coincident. I'll click on the center line there, Control-click the spline, and make those tangent. And finally, take this line, Control-click on this center axis and make those parallel. And now we know exactly where that inflection line is. This thing is fully defined. We know exactly where this thing needs to be cut. So we can exit this sketch. It's going to rebuild, and since that's construction geometry, it's not going to do anything to change our form. It's just going to give us a point where we can really easily cut this thing in two so that the interior piece of this horn can be separate from the exterior piece. If you don't know what I mean, just wait. You'll see. Close this up. We'll go back to our main assembly. And let's create these two last exterior pieces anyway. So insert components, new part, front plane, cancel. We'll rename this one our rear nose. Right-click and right-click and save that in an external part file first of all. Then open that up in a new window. We'll insert our master model. Just need the surface bodies and the unabsorbed sketches. And once again, we only need that big piece in the middle. We don't need the other pieces, so we can delete those out. And we can trim this surface back. Let's go to the Surface Tools, Trim Surface. And in Standard Mode, let's clear this out, because in the Trim tool, we'll choose this edge back here. Make sure we are keeping selections, and then click on this rear nose cone area. Then hit OK. We're left with just that bit. Now, finally, we are going to need to cut this, and I just realized when we imported this, we didn't bring in that original sketch, right? So let's go back and change that master model import feature. Just say Edit Feature. We brought in unabsorbed sketches, but we didn't bring in absorbed sketches. Let's bring those in too this time. That's going to bring in this piece here. This one was absorbed into a surface revolve, if you'll recall. That's why it didn't come in. But all we have to do is tell it, and there it is. Now let's go to our right plane and create a sketch. And on that sketch, I'll draw a line. We'll make that line coincident with that new point we just created at the inflection of this curve. Click that, Control-click the center line of our body, and make those perpendicular. And now that's pretty much fully constrained. The ends can move. We'll just make them plenty big, and that's fine. Exit that. And we can trim again. Do Trim Surface. This time, Standard Mode. Trim Tool is that 2D sketch. Keep selections. Click on this piece, and hit OK. And finally, we just need to make this into a solid. And as you well know by now, there's more than one way that you could do that. Let's do it in a way that we haven't done it before. This time, let's go up to the Thicken tool. We'll grab this surface. We'll thicken it by 3 millimeters. Hit OK. And as we know, this face is not necessarily going to meet up just perfectly with the rest of this body, because the rest of this body actually has a perfectly straight cut straight down this way. And we can't easily extrude a cut that will get this entire thing flattened out. So what we'll have to do is revolve it, which is still really easy. We'll go to the right plane, create a sketch, and we're going to create a rectangle. I'll do a 3-point corner rectangle. That's where I can click this point. I'll click in here somewhere and then out here to finish up that rectangle. I'll take the bottom edge of that rectangle and the center line of our body and make those parallel. And now we're really close. Now I can just take this sketch and go to Features, Revolved Cut, and Axis of Revolution will be the center line. That's going to go all the way around and just cut this thing so that it's nice and flat. Perfect. So now this thing's going to meet up just exactly the way that we need it to. Finally, let's go ahead and add a fillet to this edge. We'll make that a 1 millimeter fillet just to match with all the others we've been adding. Next, we'll go to our mirror command under Features. We'll go to the right plane, Bodies to Mirror. We're going to mirror this body. Make sure to merge solids. Hit OK. We're left with our completed part. Looks really nice, and it's all in draft, amazingly enough. We'll go into our sketches here. Let's just hide all of these sketches really quickly so those are out of our way. That looks good. Close this up. Yep, let's go back to our main model here. Hide the master model. Let's go to our metals again. Look at our chrome. Add our chrome plate to the back of this thing. Yeah. Alrighty. Now at least the outside of this is looking flippin' sweet. And we just got to add that one last component on the inside before we actually start building out some mechanical features.